This used to be a photo in The Sims 4. The game deleted it at random, which happens to be an old bug the Sims team unfortunately cannot seem to fix. But today, we're going to stop playing Russian roulette with our Sims memories. In this video, I'm going to show how to use my free templates to make it easy for you to recolor frames so that you can hang up memories on your Sims walls that will last. Alright, turning our screenshots into CC is the answer. It takes a couple of extra steps though, so why bother? Maybe you've never experienced the bug and like to live life on the edge. Well, for one, it means your screenshots aren't doomed to collect dust in your screenshots folder anymore, but there are so many other advantages as well. Just check out these photos from Nisha and Man Sims. I think it'd be pretty hard to get these types of shots in the game. It's much easier to create as well as update photos if you're using your screenshots and a recolored frame instead of trying to get the perfect shot in the game. And to get that perfect shot, you probably need mods for more flexibility anyways. It's also super easy to create the recolors with my templates, so no editing skills are needed. If you've been overwhelmed with trying to figure out how to cut out the existing frame and make it work for your screenshots, well, that's over now. You don't have to worry about that. And it's also super easy to update the CC with new photos by simply adding new swatches. All in all, I think screenshots definitely trump in-game photos. For one, they're much easier to create and take a snapshot of. And second, you can easily add more photos to a frame by simply adding new swatches, which you can't really do with an in-game photo. A recolored frame is also fully customizable and gives you better quality. For example, you can edit the screenshot before you add it to the frame and add filter effects that aren't in the game. You can also add your own title, description, and even price to the frame. And I've upscaled the textures that I used for my templates, so your photos are going to be super sharp. And probably most importantly, it's super unlikely for CC to corrupt your save file. It's very uncommon for Decor CC to break, and if it does, it usually can be fixed with a batch update. CC also doesn't contribute to save file bloat like an in-game photo would, which makes it less likely to corrupt your save file.
Okay, real talk. If you're anything like me, you care about your Sims, like deeply. You've got legacies, storylines, save files that actually mean something to you. But let's be real, it's easy to lose track. One day you're totally invested, and then suddenly you're not. You forget who lives where, what was supposed to happen next, or even why you love that sim in the first place. That's exactly why I made the Sim Guardian. This Notion system helps me stay connected to my Sims by giving me one place to track everything. And I mean everything. I can see my entire save file at a glance, who lives where, all the lore, what everyone's working toward. Every Sim has their own page for backstory, traits, relationships. I can even see their own businesses and shared memories. And every legacy has its own page as well to save their bloodline, heritage, and history. I can manage my rotational gameplay, challenges, storyline ideas. It's all here. Heck, I can even keep track of my mods and CC in this system. It's the most organized I've ever been. And honestly, it's the easiest it's ever been to keep track, because I don't have to figure out where to start. I've already done the work of setting things up. Now I can just fill it in. So yeah, it's $100, but if you're serious about your Sims, it's worth it. Because the stories you're playing, they deserve to be remembered.
Cool, so now you want to create a recolor of an in-game frame, but where do you start? So there are already plenty of great tutorials out there on YouTube that go more in depth if you want to start from scratch. I'll link my favorite one from Large Tater Tots below. And at this point, you could theoretically already dip out and watch Tay's video, but I'm going to save you a lot of time with the templates I've made, so you should stay for the rest of mine first. I exported the texture files for 13 different base game frames and created templates where I already did all the editing work for you. All there left is for you to do is to add your screenshots. First, you'll need your screenshot, of course, ideally one without any G-shade or reshade applied to it. This is a tip I got from Large Tater Tots, who mentioned that this could make your G-shade effect apply double to the image once the CC is in the game, because you have the G-shade applied to the screenshot itself, and then when you bring it back into the game as CC, the G-shade that of course you have still active in your game applies to it for a second time, and so it could be a bit contrasty, or whatever type of preset you're using, it could distort the image a little bit in terms of its colors. So if you can, try to remember to take screenshots without G-shade as well as with it active. You'll also need the Sims 4 Studio app. This is a free tool for creating and modifying custom content for The Sims 4. And then you'll also need the Affinity app, which is a free photo editing software I made the templates with. I love this app so much, I've been using it for years. Its suite of apps covers everything from layout, vector design, as well as photo editing. And it was a one-time purchase, so not an overpriced subscription fee like we're familiar with from Adobe. But now since November, you can get the entire suite within one app for free. So there's like no reason anymore to use Adobe. So you can just grab this free app and that's all you'll need. So now let me walk you through the steps. So first, of course, you're going to want to download the templates and you can use the frame list I made to choose which frame you want to recolor. I've chosen frame number 12, which is the baby dino nursery art, and I've also selected my screenshot, which is basically Ida Muniz with her best friend Estefani. So that's what I'm going to be working with today. And so first, of course, you want to open your Affinity template. This is what it will look like. So you'll have here in the layers panel, the different frame colors listed. So each template includes the original frame swatches from the game, as well as one you can recolor to any color you want. And sometimes I also created a dedicated black or white frame if these weren't included in the original frames, but you can also create that with the custom color. And so I can show you when I open up this layer here, you see here I have two options. I can open to recolor the frame and I can also open to recolor the passepartout. So I don't know how to pronounce that correctly, but a passepartout is this bit here. It's that white or usually cream or white paper covering that is in between the frame. So between the frame and the photo, and some of the base game frames have this. For this one, I made it possible for you to recolor that as well if you'd want. And so to do so, you simply open up the toggle, and then you see here the instructions to click this icon here to change the frame color. And then if I open up the open to recolor passport group here, you'll see I have another layer with the same instructions to click this icon here to change the color. So I'll change the color for the top frame to demonstrate, and then you'll get this recolor interface here. And this is where you can basically change the color. So I can change the hue, I can change the saturation. So if the color is more richer or more subtle, and I can also change the lightness. So I can make it brighter or I can make it darker. So I think I'll go for maybe this color, and then I can go out. And one thing also, you can change this. You can make it either darker or lighter. So by default, the recolor layer always has the multiply effect applied. But if you want to make it brighter, you can just click this and then in the drop down, select color. And you'll see this makes it lighter. So in this case, for this frame, concentrate on this bit here, middle strip here, the lighter strip. That is going to be the color of your frame, not this pink color here. And so if I wanted this lighter pink, I would choose maybe color, or instead I might want it to be darker like it was before, and so I can choose multiply. You can also just play around with these different effects here and see which one you like. In this case, I'll just stick with multiply, and then I'll close that. And so if I want to work with the custom color layer, if that's what I want, then I can keep this layer visible. As you can see here, I can toggle the visibility with this eye icon. So I click it on and off, and that's how I can modify the visibility. And so in this case, I think I might want to go for the black frame. Nice and simple. So I'll toggle the visibility of the custom color layer off, and I will turn on the black layer. And next, you want to drag and drop your screenshot into the template. So I'll just grab my screenshot, pop it in there, and it's at the very top. And so I'll just drag it down, and then I will open up this here, this bottom layer, and then I'll drag the photo in between. So above this layer and beneath this one. And now I also need to resize it. So I'll zoom out a little bit, and then to resize it, if it's not already the case, you can click this icon here, the move tool, and then you will get this bounding box here. And then you can select one of the edges. And as you can see, you can resize the image. And so I'll do that. I'll zoom back in and I'll resize it to where they're both in the middle. I think that looks cute. See, maybe we want some more of the background in the image. Yeah, so I think I like this, and that's basically it. So you can adjust the color if you want, or select a different frame, and then you drag and drop your image into the file, you resize it, and then you're already done recoloring your mesh. Next, you want to export this file as a PNG. So you click on File, on Export, Export, and then you select PNG as your file type, and then you select Export. And I'll just export it onto my desktop here. I'll give it a new name. I'll just add Ida to it. Now I recommend your original files that you save these in a dedicated folder somewhere on your PC, just so you always have them for reference. But for now, I'll save it to my desktop. And now the next step is to open up the Sims 4 Studio app. So this is what it looks like. If this is your first time opening up this app, you can change the creator name here. And I think this makes it so that your content is always tagged with your name. And next, we want to click Object. Just make sure that standalone color is pre-selected. Then you can click Object. Now we want to search here the frame we want to recolor. So I always include the frame name in the files that I've given you, so the template file, as well as in the list of frames that you can recolor. So you can simply type that in. So baby dino nursery, and there we go, there it is. So we click on that frame, we click on next, and now we need to choose where we want to save this file. So again, I think you should have a dedicated folder on your PC where you save all of your custom content, projects, as well as the PNGs that you export and the original package file that you export in this step. For now, I'll just select desktop and I'll name it frame 12 Ida. So now we have our package file open where we can edit it. This here's the 3D viewer where we can zoom in, where if you click on the middle mouse button, you can also reposition the frame. You can zoom further in. Here you can see your different swatches. So these are the existing swatches for the object. Then we have catalog information, so the name of the frame, the description, as well as the price. And here under tab texture is where we'll be doing our magic. This is where you can edit the swatch color. You can add also up to 3 colors for a swatch, and they'll just be stacked within this little square icon here. And you can import the texture that we just now created and replace the existing one so that we can have our new frame, our recolor. So you can either replace the texture for an existing swatch, or you can add a completely new swatch. You can also remove swatches. So I can just click remove swatch for all of these existing ones. You can't remove the very last one. And so in that case, we'll just recolor this one. I could also add a new swatch as so, but I'll just recolor this one. For the swatch, we'll just pick black because that's the frame color. Then we will import. So we click on import here to import the PNG file we exported beforehand that we edited in the template. So we'll open that. As you can see, I have my frame and we have Ida with Estefani. Perfect. If you exported more PNGs from the step before, you can just simply add a new swatch for each new one and then import that file. But I haven't, so I'll just go back to catalog and I'll rename this file. So I'll call it Ida's photos. Let's say I want this package file to be dedicated to Ida and any photos I create of her. And then I could, change the description if I wanted to. I could change the price. Depending on the photo, I might just pick 1 simoleons to make it cheap and easy for my Sims to get the photo. But if it's like maybe a photo from an event or a collection of photos from an event, I like to make the frame a little bit more expensive. I like to imagine they hired a professional photographer and, they're getting really high quality prints from them. And so, I might make it 50 simoleons or something like that. So you can play around with the price. And you can also add keywords to your file. So I learned this from Ravishing from one of her CC editing videos. If you add this vertical line after the title, anything that comes after is a keyword. So for example, I will add the keyword Muniz because that is Ida's last name. I could also maybe add the save file name as a keyword. So I think you would just add the keyword, then comma, and then a new keyword, and then comma, and so on and so forth. And that way, when you're in the game in the build by catalog, you can simply type for that keyword, and then it'll automatically find that frame for you, that recolor. But I'm done for now, so I changed the name. You can edit the description and the price if you want to, and I've added all the swatches that I want for this particular file, so I will save it. And last but not least, I of course need to add this to my mods folder. So here's my mods folder, and here's the package file. Now I like to have a dedicated folder within my mods folder for custom paintings, and so that is this folder here. And so I will drag and drop the package file into that folder. And now I can open up the game and show you what it looks like. So now I'm in the game in build by mode, and I can show you how I can quickly find the image I just now added by searching the keyword Muniz. I actually have 2 package files in my mods folder. One, of course, the one we just now made, and I have made a previous one where I have a photo of Ida and Michael while they were pregnant. Very, very cute. So if I go over here, you see I can quickly find that image that I made. I can add it to the wall. If I zoom in, you can see it looks good. So since the photo didn't have any G-shade applied to it beforehand, it's not like having that double preset effect, and it looks perfect. So now that you know how to use the templates and how to create a recolor and add it to your game, I want to share some tips and ideas to help you be a bit more organized when creating these recolors. So for one, you can have a bit of a swatch strategy. Instead of willy-nilly adding swatches to various different recolors, we want to have some thought behind it. So I have 2 categories of recolors that I create that determine how many swatches I add to that recolor. So for one, you might want to create a recolor of a frame that will represent a collection of photos. So this is one frame with many swatches. This is valid, for example, if you want to create a recolor dedicated to a particular sim. Like beforehand, I said this could be a recolor for Ida's photos, and so I would just only add photos of Ida to that frame. So it could be photos of her during her life, as she grows up, from childhood to adulthood to elderhood. It's only photos of her, maybe mainly of her being alone in the photo, but this is a collection that is just relevant to her. Or I could create a collection relevant to a particular generation, or maybe one for a specific household, or maybe I want to have it tied to a period of time, for example, one sim year, or I want to create a recolor that has a collection of photos from a particular event, maybe, for example, a wedding event or a birthday. I want to have one frame dedicated to this event, and it'll naturally have many different swatches because I took many different photos from that specific date. On the other hand, there might be a reason for you to have one frame with only one swatch, and that is if you have a one-of-a-kind type of item. So this is where I feel like it makes sense to have just one swatch for that particular frame. So for example, this might be a piece of artwork that your sim created. You might edit a screenshot to look more artsy, or you might draw something yourself and then put that into a recolored frame and put that in the game. This is a unique item, and so this is naturally something that would just have one swatch. The same applies for anything that you might want to become an heirloom. An heirloom naturally is also a one-of-a-kind, unique item, and so if it's, for example, a portrait of a sim that you want to be passed down, then you could create one frame recolor with one swatch. And you'll probably be creating a bunch of new recolors now that it's so easy, with the different templates, and so you'll want to have a consistent naming convention. Here I like to differ between my strategies when it comes to package files and the title of the item itself. So for package files, here are some examples on how you can name your files consistently. So you could start with the save file, then the legacy and the generation, if it's, for example, a collection of photos for a particular generation of a legacy you're playing. Or you could begin with save file and event if it's representative of a collection of photos for an event. Same principle for if it's a package file for a specific sim. I like to have save file at the front because you might have sims with similar names across different save files, but having the save file name or abbreviation, however you'd like to do it, at the very beginning of the package file helps distinguish it between the different files. You could also have, of course, like we mentioned before, if the collection is relevant to a period of time, then that is what you would add in the package file name. Now for the name of the frame itself, I think we want to keep the title as simple as possible, so I would just take the main purpose as the title. For example, Ida's photos, because it's a collection of her photos. Or Ida and Michael's wedding event, if it's a wedding event. Simple, right? But then I would add keywords to indicate the save file, legacy, and so on. And of course, you could add more information to the description as well. But this way, the frame is searchable in your build by catalog, but the title remains clear and to the point. Now, to stay organized in general on your PC with all these different package files and thumbnail exports and all that, I recommend saving the original package files and those PNG exports in their own dedicated folder on your PC somewhere. So you could name it custom content projects, and that's where you collect them. You can, of course, create subfolders for the different, types of recolors you're making, and of course for the templates themselves. And I would do something similar for the folders in your mods folder. So I would create subfolders to organize those CC recolors in your mods folder. So for example, you could create a folder for a legacy or for save files, and you can save those package files in those folders. So you can have up to, I believe, 5 subfolders in your mods folder, and those package files will still work. And so you can really organize them in that way. What I find is also helpful is to keep track of your recolors in a database or in a spreadsheet of some sort. So for example, you could use Airtable or Notion, and I think this is useful because this gives you also insight into what swatches you have in your recolors. So for example, you could set up a database in Notion where you have records for the various different recolors you have, and you can add tags or relations to make clear to which legacy they belong to, save file and whatnot. And then you can drop in all of the different photos into the record that represent the swatches that are part of that file. You can also add the description that you use for that recolor, the price, and that way you have like an overview of all these recolors that you have, and you can see, oh, okay, I added these photos to this recolor, because you don't have that visibility unless you open the file in Sims 4 Studio or of course in the game itself. And this way you have like a quick reference of what photos you've already added to a frame and which ones you might want to still add. This is, I think, particularly useful for your collection recolors where you want to have multiple swatches, for a specific sim or legacy. Now, if you're a total noob when it comes to databases and spreadsheets, I recommend checking out my blog post on how I built my own mod tracker in Airtable. From what you learn there, you can then easily create your own Airtable and database to collect your recolors. Alternatively, you can also just buy my Sim mod tracker if you don't want to put in all that work. And my Sim Guardian also includes a database to collect mods, which can also be connected to legacies and whatnot, so you can easily make it work to collect your recolors as well. I think recolors are a great way to make use of all the screenshots you have lying around in your mods folder, but if you want another way to organize them and add context to them, then I recommend checking out the video on the screen where I show how I built a database in Notion to collect and keep track of my screenshots. Again, you could probably learn a lot from this tutorial and apply it to your recolors database if you wanted to build that in Notion as well. So definitely check out that.